Hi friends, so yes, it is, I'm not bluffing, I'm actually selling Thor, my 2010 Volvo XC90 V8 Executive. I'm kind of surprised that I'm doing this soon, but not really. Long story short, just like, how some other people with cars get, I just kind of got bored. But I'm going to be explaining why exactly I'm selling Thor. I would set up the camera and everything, but I don't think that this is a, like production quality type of video, if that makes sense. So we're going to be on the fly with the phone today. So yes, as a lot of you know, this is my XC90 V8 that I've built out, for a little bit. This is Ember Black. It's a 2010 V8 Executive, not fully loaded Executive because it lacks the cooled and massaging seats and a few other features like the rear DVD headrest and some other things, but it's pretty well equipped. It has power folding mirrors, the blind spot monitor. I also put in this Android head unit that does Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, the Legend thing. I have an unlisted video of that on the channel. Honestly, the main reason why I'm selling this is because it's a car that I tried to take off-road. Yes, cross-country performance makes a lift kit for this. Yes, it fit the Nitto Ridge Grappler all-terrain tires. It has a decent all-wheel drive system, but it is not anywhere as capable as something like a 4Runner or my Tacoma. Anything, like that has proper four-wheel drive and proper suspension articulation. Because the last few times that I've taken this off-road, this does not inspire much confidence on big bumps and ruts and low traction situations. So for any of you that kind of want to do the same or similar thing with your XC90, that's kind of why I did this build. So, I could shed some light on these Volvos because they are kind of cool, especially the XC90s with the V8, just like this one. It's a really special SUV. I did the 31.5 inch, 265/60 R18 Nitto Ridge Grappler tires on the stock 18-inch alloy wheels that I plasti dipped in gray. They are obviously a bit dirty. I also did the 3-inch, supposed to be 3-inch cross-country performance lift kit. So it's a spacer lift up on the top of the shock, and then underneath is a subframe spacer lift, which drops the subframe an inch, which kind of hinders ground clearance. So it kind of has the same ground clearance as it did before, but it's just higher up so you could fit bigger tires on it, which doesn't really do much for me in terms of actual off-road performance. It really does not look that different from stock. In terms of height, I parked next to another XC90 and it's very similar to this. I also, in order to fit these larger tires, because the stock tires on these are 235s, these are 265s. I used 1.25-inch spacers that I got on eBay. These cars are hard to find spacers with because these have a 5x108 lug pattern and a 67.1 millimeter center bore for the hub. I originally got spacers that I thought would work on this, but they turn out they'd work on the S60 and smaller vehicles that have the smaller 63 millimeter hub bore, but that didn't work for this. I also got a tow hitch for $15 at the junkyard, and I also got these roof rack, the crossbars, on eBay for like $70, and I put my traction boards on them. You could see what I used to mount them with, but I'm keeping my traction boards, and I took off all my stickers. While I'm back here, I will show you, there are a lot of things that I will miss from this. One of the things that I did plan on doing is getting a spare tire carrier, a full-size one, to put it on the back. That's if I was going to keep this. And I'll tell you everything that I wish this had, which would make me keep it. But let me go back here. I love that this has the split tailgate. Just because you could sit on it, you could stand on it, you could use it as a workbench, picnic table, all kinds of things. And this is a pretty handy, cargo divider over here. It does have a third row, which is not terribly large. I can fit in it. I'm 5'9", but it's not somewhere where I'd advise adults to be in all the time. I did put in a backup camera, but I didn't finish the wiring on it. Also, the rear is not lifted because Volvos, at least to the DIY people, I kind of ran out of ideas until one of you guys actually commented about this. Um, the way how the spacer goes on. I thought it went on one way. I don't exactly. It goes under the spring instead of on top of it, it seems like. But so it, it's a simple thing to install now that I know how to do it. And the instructions that CCP or Cross Country Performance supplies are pretty helpful. I did show you guys how to do the front suspension, but I kind of lost interest and got burnt out from, messing with the rear suspension. On the road, I don't really notice anything. The only time that I notice rubbing on the tire and the fender well is when it's like fully articulated off-road on a very difficult trail, but on the road and on light trails, I never noticed anything. Under the hood of these XC90 V8s is one of the most cool engines that Volvo has ever put in their vehicles. It's the B8444S. It's their 4.4 liter Yamaha V8. It makes 311 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque, which actually propels this thing pretty well. On the highway, this thing feels very strong. I have a lot of confidence when I'm passing people, even up in the mountains. I can maintain 90 and above, going up steep mountain grades that my Tacoma over there has trouble doing. So this is a fantastic engine, and these are known to be somewhat reliable. Yeah, somewhat reliable. It's been reliable to me. It's not caused me any grief. They can be challenging to work on for the novice, the DIY type of person. Simple things like spark plugs up in the front are easy. In the back, you have to take off this cross brace. I had to do that. The air filter clearly over here. I've done the transmission service on this already, which is very simple. Oil change. Regular maintenance isn't bad, but when you have to start diving into valve cover gaskets, alternators, kind of the bigger jobs with this engine, that's when on the DIY side of things, it can get overwhelming and intimidating. And on the, taking it to the shop side of things, that's where things start to get a little bit expensive. But Thor has been pretty well maintained even before me. So this particular one will serve the next owner well for the next couple, well, maybe 100,000 miles, I'd say. Right now I'm at 181,000 miles, and it's still kicking it. So also something about these, because I actually had someone respond to one of the listing posts, or the postings of this. He wanted something fuel efficient, and now these things are not known to be fuel efficient even while stock. These get about 15 in the city, 15, 16 in the city, and like 20 on the highway. With the stock tires, I got maybe 16, 17 in the city, and on the highway like 21 or 22, but nothing more than that, which isn't terrible. I could, get like 400 miles on a tank with this thing. It has like a 21 or 23 gallon fuel tank. Also, these are timing chain driven engines, and the timing chains, are known to be a little bit more reliable, and you don't have to change them. This engine also has had quite a bit of work done, like the idler pulleys and common maintenance items that the V8 Volvos require have been done on this, luckily. Now, about the all-wheel drive system on these XC90s, and now I guess I'll go into some of the things that I did not like about this. So first of all, this does not unlike the Land Rover LR4, which, if you want to compare these two, you can. The Land Rover has a low-range gearbox, and this doesn't. And that's one of the things that I noticed. This luckily has a nice enough torque band, or a nice enough low-end torque that I've not really struggled on inclines. But the low range, like in Phantom, is very helpful, just for the extra control, because that's really what it is with this. I don't have enough throttle control as I'd like compared to my stick shift my stick shift low range pickup truck, that's an actual off-road vehicle. Another thing that I'll get into. Now, I love this thing. I bought this thing because I wanted an XC90, but I realized I reach the capabilities of all-wheel drive on the places that I go. At least this all-wheel drive system. It's primarily front-wheel drive based, but it's full-time all-wheel drive. It's always active, but primarily sends power to the front wheels, and then it sends more power to the rear wheels if needed. Another issue with this is the traction control system. It's perfect for on the road, perfect for snow. This thing is great in the snow. But when you really get this thing hung up, like a lot of other all-wheel drives, it just gets overwhelmed and just spins tires. It either spins tires too much and doesn't send power to where it needs to go, or it just bogs down and you go nowhere and the wheels aren't spinning or doing anything. Suspension travel is also something that really helps when you're off-roading, especially with open diffs, because you don't need lockers or the most advanced traction control or off-road traction control system to get everywhere. But as soon as you have good articulation, like my Tacoma, because it has a solid rear axle, which allows it to flex a lot more and have tires on the ground, this can get a lot more places than this. Even though I do have to say this keeps up with it keeps up with trucks on more difficult trails. I've taken this to Peters Mill Run, taken this to Green Ridge a few times, which Green Ridge State Park is not that aggressive of a trail, but there are some interesting parts. And I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of you that are going to be like, oh, this is why you should get a Subaru. Subaru is not any better than a Volvo off-road. Sure, the all-wheel drive system may be able to send power to, more aggressively to the wheels that need it, but it's not going to be like proper four-wheel drive. It's never going to be like proper four-wheel drive. It's always going to be an all-wheel drive car. Doesn't matter what it is. So I think that is all I have to say. For the next thing I'm going to be getting, I'm not getting this immediately. There is something in line after Thor, which it's something I actually do plan on keeping for a while, because it's something that's reliable and also fun. It's going to be a car. My goodness, my hand is tired. Nope. It's going to be a car, but I am excited to show you guys what that will be. But for the replacement for this, which will come in, I don't know how long, I want to look at the Lexus GX 460. I thought about the 470, but I just prefer the 460, preferably the 10 to 13, just because I like the look before the spindle grill a little bit more. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys that I'm selling Thor. I had a good time with this. If you're interested in getting a V8 XC90, I would say go for it. Or any XC90, but especially the V8, but not for off-roading. It's a perfect car for on the road, well, perfect SUV for on the road and snow driving, but anything difficult. And this is what I knew, and a bunch of people are gonna be like, I told you so. But I knew what I was getting into, but I wanted to try it. It looks cool. I would still drive this if I needed an SUV for the street, but I don't. I'm not that type of person. I buy an SUV or a truck to take it off-road, not to drive it, and wait for the snow to come. But my arm is starting to get tired and the mosquitoes are getting to me. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Oh, also, if you want to buy Thor, I've listed him on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for $7,500. That's about where the market is for these things, so let me know. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, peeps.